and that would pay people up to $1,200 with an additional $500 per child for financial support. The proposal also includes grants for small businesses, funding for healthcare centers, and loans for major industries. It's a $1 trillion proposal, and Democrats are upset the GOP didn't consult them first and say the bill doesn't do enough to protect workers.
If there's going to be a bailout of any sort of industry, worker priorities and worker protections must be included.
Millions of people are still expecting a fourth stimulus package. Many are urging the Fed send out more stimulus money to help ease the burden of the increased COLA, which is sweeping the nation, everybody. And everybody, a new stimulus proposal has been proposed. The latest stimulus check package can actually come directly from the White House. If the proposal is approved, eligible people will be entitled to receive gas rebate checks. While the idea of sending out more money was initially rejected by members of the Democratic Party, especially with the IRS actually running low on funds after the previous 3 stimulus checks, the idea seems to have regained momentum again. With gas prices going above $5 a gallon across much of the nation, the Biden administration is considering its options. Lawmakers like John Larson, Mike Thompson, and even President Biden introduced the Gas Rebate Act of 2022. Now, this bill aims to address high gas prices by sending an energy rebate check of $100 or more and $100 for each dependent. For the remainder of 2022, for any month where the national average of gas exceeds $4 a gallon. Thompson said in a press statement, Americans are feeling the impact at the pump, and right now we must work together on common sense policy solutions to just ease the financial burden and help the people that are feeling the struggle. Don't forget about this. Individuals earning less than $75,000 will be eligible for $100 of extra stimulus money, while people that are receiving $150,000 and phase out $160,000 as well will be eligible for $100 per stimulus check. Other lawmakers have also proposed that stimulus money can only go to a more targeted group of people. But Joe Biden says he will have a direct conversation with oil companies soon, following his warning to oil giants earlier this year that he may give them a higher tax on excess profits. Biden threatened to push Congress to impose a windfall tax on oil companies. His comments came after ExxonMobil, Chevron, and even Shell reported high third quarter earnings. And Biden said during an event this week, every month, a lot of people have bills to pay on a regular basis. Every month, they have healthcare premiums and energy costs. And that's not good. So while analysts say the global oil market, not individuals, companies are seeing and setting the large portions of the price, Biden has ramped up his efforts and focus on record profits by oil companies ahead of Election Day, seeking to go on offense over an issue that pulls a strong Democratic demographic. So while analysts, everybody, have said that, the Biden administration officials have met with oil executives in their push to lower gas prices this year. So when pressed about why President Biden doesn't talk to the companies directly, well, the White House press secretary said the Department of Energy has been in regular contact and had meetings with them, and many times a year this happens. But during the press conference, President Biden said that the CHIPS Act and the Science Act, which boost the consumer and computer chip manufacturing in the United States, has also rallied support for California Democrats. So at least we see that President Biden is doing something good.
Mr. President.
The majority leader is recognized.
Mr. President, I just left the floor of the House for one of the most emotional moments I've had in my career, the valedictory of Nancy Pelosi, one of the greatest legislators and greatest people I've ever met. I first met Nancy Pelosi back in 1987. I was a congressman, and we had a little dinner group that would go out to dinner every Tuesday night. And one of the leaders of that group, George Miller, congressman from California, came up to me. He said, in a few minutes, I'm going to introduce you to a new member of our group. She's the new congresswoman from San Francisco, and she's going to become the first woman speaker. That was the first thing I heard about Nancy Pelosi, even before I met her. And the moment I met her, I saw what he meant. It was obvious that this new member from the west coast of California had it all. Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi. She's the proud daughter of Baltimore's Little Italy neighborhood, the estimable representative from the state of California, and the first woman ever as Speaker of the United States Congress. It was amazing. She did an amazing job and I wanted to go over to the House floor where I had served 18 happy years, many of them as a colleague of Speaker Pelosi and a friend, to just say thank you for the amazing things she has done for our country. Few in American history have been as effective, as driven, as successful as Speaker Pelosi. She's transformed practically every corner of American politics and unquestionably made America a better, stronger nation. You know, I'm known as having a lot of energy, but I have never, ever met anyone with more energy than Nancy D'Alessandro Pelosi.
This year. In this video, I'll be sharing the states and cities that are currently providing their residents with stimulus payments. These payments can be worth up to $1,500. And a recent report shows that out of the American households that received the latest stimulus checks of $1,400, only 19% spent the money right away, as opposed to saving the money or paying off existing debt. Analysts have even said that the spending pattern shifted over the second and third stimulus checks. Households who said they spent their stimulus payments on expenses like food and rent went from 74% of households in the first round to 22% of households for the second round of stimulus. That figure dropped to 19% of households in the third round of $1,400 payments. Analysts indicate that some households, including lower and middle income families, more reluctant to immediately spending the second and third round of payments due to the uncertainty of the crisis, preferring to make the funds last as long as possible instead. The latest stimulus checks came as part of President Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus package. In addition to the stimulus checks, Biden's American Rescue Plan extended the CARES Act, Unemployment Assistance, and Emergency Compensation Program. But the rising inflation rate, it is still clear that lawmakers have to pass additional financial aid for the people. In the coming weeks, Delaware is expecting a $300 rebate check in the coming days. The check will come in the mail, and it's expected to arrive by May 31st. Some Delaware residents have already received it. Lawmakers created the program to help residents deal with skyrocketing gas prices and the burden of inflation. The one-time payment is likely the first time the state government has created the rebate program. The state has also created an online tool that allows residents to check the status of the rebate. The program is for every Delaware resident who filed a 2020 state tax return. Seniors and those who didn't earn enough money to pay taxes in 2020 will still qualify for the $300. The Department of Finance will also establish a process to identify adults who did not file a 2020 state income tax return by combining through the state databases, especially with the DMV. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom proposed sending debit cards to car owners with $400 for fuel. Families will obtain one debit card per car with a limit of 2 per household. Californians will see the gas cards in early July, and the state of Georgia provides refunds ranging from $250 to $500. Single filers could receive $250 and heads of households could receive $375, and married couples would receive $500. In the state of Idaho, the governor approved a rebate